Have you watched Evil Influencer, the Jodi Hildebrandt Story on Netflix? Well, I did, and as a real licensed therapist, I want to break down some things to you and for you, and also talk about some things from my personal perspective as well. Before we get into it, I need for you to put in the comment section below, what did you think about Jodi, the Franke family, Ruby, all of the kids, and everything that transpired in this documentary? Because woo, it was a lot. Now, the first thing that I want to talk to you guys about is that credentials don't equal character. Just because somebody like Jodi claims to be an authority, an expert, a leader, those roles can be weaponized at any given time. Sometimes when someone sounds confident or uses spiritual language or is clinically trained, we tend to believe them, especially if they were recommended by someone we trust. But that doesn't always mean that those people are operating on an ethical level. As a real licensed therapist, we are governed by laws and ethics. That means there's things that we can and cannot do legally, and there's things that are not necessarily illegal, but they just don't have integrity, and it's not towards the benefit of you or your client. Because Jodi was a licensed therapist doing all of these heinous things, she eventually got her license taken away or suspended, and that's what happens when you don't follow the rules, the guidelines, and the ethics and the laws within our field. Your license can be suspended, you can be on probation, or your license can simply be revoked altogether. Not only was she doing things illegally, but she was also doing things unethically. She did something called a dual relationship, and this is something that we are not supposed to get into because it can be very sticky. And what a dual relationship is, it means that you are operating with your client in multiple, 2 or more capacities. So not only was Ruby, for example, her client, but she also wound up living with her. They were also like business partners, which is absolutely unethical. As you can see, a lot of the lines were blurred for Jodi and for everybody that was considered a client of hers. Before we move on, it has come to my attention that only about 4 to 5% of you guys who watch my videos are subscribed to my channel, and we gotta get that number way up. So if you would do me a favor and simply hit the subscribe button and hit the notification button, that really does help me to create videos and content like this for you every single day. Now let's get back to it. Second thing that we have to talk about is this truth versus distortion thing that she was always talking about. I read online that people were like, distortions are not real. It is a real term. It is a real psychological term. And we often use distortions in regards to something called cognitive distortions. What that is, cognitive distortions are just the way that we view the world, others, and ourselves in a distorted manner. That means we have irrational thoughts about how we operate in this world. Without going too deep into it, I can name a few of them that Jodi was operating in. She was catastrophizing. She operated in magnification, which means blowing things out of proportion. Also, catastrophizing means making the worst case scenario in all be all, doomsday all of the time. She also disqualified the positive, meaning she only focused on the negative things. And if there was a little small, teeny tiny bit of positivity, she just bypassed that. She operated in should statements, meaning this is how you're supposed to be and this is how it should be, and should. She was shoulding all over herself and everybody else. She operated in this all or nothing thinking. That means it had to be black or white, this way or that way, and there was no gray, there was no middle ground, or what she said had to be the final decision, which we all know is not accurate or correct. And most therapists get into this field because of their own because of their own issues and their own drama. And this is what Jodi seemed like she got into this field for. When they were interviewing the other therapists who worked with her in, I think, a group setting, she mentioned that she finally read Jodi's book where she talked about her history and her childhood and her upbringing and all of the trauma that she experienced. I absolutely believe that she had complex PTSD along with trauma bonding with all of the different clients that she encountered within the LDS, the Latter-day Saints, or the Mormon church. The kicker to all of this was she didn't have a relationship with her own 2 children, Jodi, and she also didn't have a relationship with any of her extended family either. They all said that nobody, emphasis on nobody, wanted anything to do with her. That was a red flag right there. What Jodi did was she saw this open door within the LDS community. This led to her emotionally, spiritually, physically, relationally, financially abusing not only the kids, but also adults. It is never okay for you to consistently separate spouses from each other for years at a time in the name of, oh, we're keeping families together. This is where Ruby got sucked in and manipulated. Jodi saw the 8 Passengers YouTube channel. She's seen it as a come up. She's seen their family, and she infiltrated not only their life, but their lifestyle and also Ruby's brain to manipulate her into believing everything that Jodi had to say. I'm not at all making excuses for Ruby, but I am saying that I truly believe that she was genuinely manipulated. And from what I have seen, and this is something that maybe y'all may not rock with, I don't know. I did another video about just the spiritual aspect of this whole entire thing, because Jodi was operating in what is known as charismatic witchcraft. This means a person who would typically be charismatic, right? Who is well-spoken, she seems confident, she's clinically trained, people like her, so to speak, but she's operating in control, in manipulation, in domination, and intimidation. If you want to know more about that and break that down, make sure to watch the one on screen that I'll link up here and put in the description from my other video. This is why the whole connections thing and the mothers of truth started to feel real cultish. One of the things that I hate that we do as a society, which I'm probably perpetuating in this video, is talking more about the perpetrator than we do about the victims. Because truly, not only the adult clients that she worked with and the families that she's ruined and separated and all of those things happen, but also she physically, emotionally, spiritually abused children. All of those kids, the ones that we know about from the Franke family and maybe other ones who we don't know about, they're all going to need therapy, extensive therapy, and therapy probably for the rest of their lives. If I'm being honest, Ruby and her husband gonna need therapy too, separately, individually, forever. Taking the basic needs away from children, saying, you know what, if you keep doing that, you're gonna lose your privilege to have dinner. Taking your son's bedroom and his bed away and the doors off of his room for 7 months is insanity. Saying that you're gonna cut off your 3-year-old's favorite doll just because she was cutting paper and things around the house is abusive. These are all things that Ruby did with her children on the 8 Passengers channel publicly for everybody to see. And she didn't see anything wrong with that. So the internet started catching on and was like, oh, no, this is unacceptable. I know that these children are going to be forever changed, and they're going to have a hard time trusting people and authority figures when they grow up. Because all of these negative messages were instilled in them about them not being good enough and that demons were inside of them and they were horrible people leads to shame. There's a difference between guilt and shame. Guilt is, oh, I feel bad for something I did. I stepped on your toe, I feel bad, right? But shame is thinking that I am a bad person because of that action. And they think that they are a bad person because of the things that Jodi and Ruby instilled in them when they were just 3 years old, 7 years old, 9 years old, just trying to live their life and be regular kids. The person that I also feel sad about, which I haven't talked about fully yet in this video, is the dad. Ruby's husband, or ex-husband, because he divorced her. He knew nothing about this. He was out of the house for like a year on Jodi's doing, right? Because they were supposed to be working on it and getting back to their family, and he separated them and all of those things, but he knew nothing about the abuse. He knew nothing about the malnutrition that was happening and the bruises and them being cuffed and tied and all of these things. He knew nothing about that. And when they rolled the footage in this documentary of them telling him for the first time, he broke down, and you can tell he genuinely was not a part of this at all. And I'm glad that he got full custody of the children today. My final thoughts on this was, actually, I'm probably a little late to the party because this was the first time that I had ever heard about this case. And I know that it was a big thing a few years ago when it first went down, but for some reason, I guess I was living under a rock. But my question is, what if the young boy never escaped from Jodi's house and went to the neighbor's house and said, hey, can you call the police? I need some help. How long would this have gone on? How many other families and kids she would have done this to? From my perspective, if things would have kept going the way that they were, I think the kids would have either been severely injured or ill or even potentially died. I hope Jodi stays in jail for her full term. Put her under the jail, because she did not seem remorseful at all at the end of this documentary when they did the audio recording of her on the phone in jail, and she was just like, I'm supposed to be here, this was my mission, this is what God wanted me to do. It was like, girl, you still don't think you did anything wrong at this point? That is wild. So this tells me not only were you mentally ill, you were also dealing with some demons that I'm going to talk about in my other video too. Ruby, on the other hand, did seem a little bit remorseful. I don't know how genuine that was, but she also still needs to do her time because she did what she did and that was not okay. So thank you so much for watching another review video on my channel. Please do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And guess what? I'll see you in the next one. Be blessed.